opposition party says it has gained enough support to form a new coalition government. The DPRK says it wants to exclude Japan from six-party talks after Tokyo insists the DPRK is still holding Japanese citizens. China says its new fuel consumption tax already reflected at the pump, so retail prices should stay the same. OPEC President Chakib Khalil says oil markets should expect severe cuts in production when the bloc meet later this month. Hello and welcome to Worldwide Watch on CCTV International. I'm Liao in Beijing. We start in Thailand, where the opposition Democrat Party says it has gained the support of 5 parties in the former ruling coalition and will try to form a new government. The party is supported by the People's Alliance for Democracy, which headed mass demonstrations against the former ruling coalition led by the People Power Party. Zhang Rui has more.
The Democrat Party announced on Saturday that it has the backing of 260 lawmakers in the parliament's 400-seat lower house, giving it a majority and allowing it to form a government.
Everyone here is fully convinced about the political situation of the country. Therefore, we have decided together to form a coalition government to solve the crisis of the country.
But given the chaos in recent months and deep political and social rifts, the apparent Democratic triumph will not be assured until Parliament meets within the next 30 days to vote on whether to endorse party leader Abhisit Vejjajiva as the new Prime Minister. Representatives of the newly joined party say they have switched sides because it's the best way out of the current crisis.
Our decision is hurting us as much as our supporters, but as a Thai citizen, we need to consider the benefit of the country rather than the dignity of a political party.
The Democrats cobbled together their coalition against a sober backdrop. 81-year-old King Pumimpo Arduyadet, regarded as a cornerstone of stability, is ill. If the new coalition were to select a prime minister close to ousted Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, analysts believe it could once again trigger mass protests from the People's Alliance for Democracy. But for now, it appears the opposition has gained the upper hand. Zhang Rui, CCTV.
The DPRK says it will not meet with Japan at the upcoming 6-party talks aimed at denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. The DPRK says Japan has neither justification nor qualification to participate in the talks. Wu Peng has more.
Korean Central Television News quoted the DPRK Foreign Ministry as saying that the main task of the new round of 6-party talks is to ensure the speed of economic compensation to the DPRK. It says the disablement for aid agreement reached by the 6 parties could move on without Japan. The DPRK was responding to Japan's refusal to provide any economic aid until some progress is made on the abduction issue. Japan insists the DPRK is hiding Japanese citizens who were kidnapped 30 years ago. But the U.S. says it hopes the DPRK could take the Japanese concerns into consideration.
We did have a discussion about the need for the DPRK to do more to meet Japanese concerns, especially on the abduction matter.
Hill said he expects Monday's talks to be difficult. He indicated meetings would focus on working out a detailed plan to verify the DPRK's nuclear programs.
We need a situation where when we begin the verification, there are no surprises.
Hill said he will speak with his South Korean counterpart Kim Suk about providing fuel aid to the DPRK. Wu Peng, CCTV.
Despite repeated protests from China, French President Nicolas Sarkozy has gone on meeting the Dalai Lama. A commentary by the Xinhua News Agency describes the French president's meeting on Saturday as unwise and short-sighted, saying it not only hurt the feelings of the Chinese people but also undermined efforts to deepen Sino-French relations. The commentary notes that the Tibet issue involves China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It points out that the Dalai Lama has long been engaged in activities aimed at split China. It says the Chinese government and people firmly oppose such separatist activities, no matter where they are conducted and under what disguise. And they also stand firmly against any foreign leaders' contact with the Dalai Lama. The Chinese and Indian armies are holding a week-long joint anti-terrorism training in India. After the opening ceremony in Balgaum in the state of Karnataka, soldiers displayed their weapons. Chinese soldiers performed Tai Chi and showcased their shooting skills, while their Indian counterparts presented the country's traditional martial arts. During the coming days, soldiers will train for anti-terror operations and discuss ways of fighting terrorism. The exercise aimed to promote understanding and trust between the two military forces. India has remained jittery since the Mumbai attacks, and now police in Nabha, part of western Maharashtra state, say they have found explosives in the hospital. Doctors at Crescent Hospital say a caller speaking in Hindi and calling from a public phone booth claimed that a bomb had been placed near the hospital entrance and threatened of dire consequences within 10 minutes. Patients were evacuated and a police bomb squad and a sniffer dog were called in. Police say they have recovered the explosives and are now investigating the incident. Coming up next on the program, China says domestic crude oil prices will be aligned with world prices but be regulated to avoid large fluctuations. And OPEC chief Chakib Khalil says oil should be selling for at least $70 a barrel.
G.E. Morrison was an Australian adventurer and Peking correspondent with the Times of London from 1897 until 1912. He witnessed and even played a role in many of the key events in China's modern history. In a 7-part series, New Frontiers tells the story of G.E. Morrison, a man whose life provides a unique perspective on the modern history of China. Only on CCTV International.
In a bid to dispel misunderstanding that a higher consumption tax will mean higher pump prices, tax officials in China have offered further explanations on the proposed tax reform of fuel tax and pricing. The National Development and Reform Commission, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Transport and the State Administration of Taxation held a joint press conference on Saturday. Chris Xiaozeng has more.
This round of fuel tax reform consists of 2 parts. First, gradually abolishing 6 categories of fees, including road maintenance tax and highway toll charge. Second, raising consumption taxes for gasoline and diesel to 1 and 0.8 yuan respectively. The government says the tax is already reflected in the pump prices. Therefore, there won't be any increase to the retail prices. It says the proposed tax is in fact lower than what's been levied in the European Union and many other countries and regions. The draft plan says China's domestic crude oil prices should be set directly in line with world prices. The government says the reform is aimed at promoting China's oil sector as well as energy saving and also to ensure domestic fuel supply and stable economic growth.
If you drive less, you will pay less tax. If you drive more, you will pay more. This is the main purpose of our reform. It encourages people to save gasoline, and this will reduce emissions. It's not a simple transportation policy. It's an important policy for energy resources and consumption.
The plan also calls for a limit on pump prices. The government says it will continue to regulate retail prices so as to prevent large price hikes caused by fluctuations in international oil prices. Hu Xiaozeng, CCTV.
China's first privately owned airline, OK Air, has suspended passenger service 10 days ahead of schedule. The move comes as a result of financial and management problems. The airline says the main reason for the suspension is that several OK Air flights were delayed due to filling problems, and it could not ensure the safety of the remaining flights. The airline says more than 2,000 passengers were stranded at airports across the country, and arrangements are being made for these passengers to transfer to other airlines. Meanwhile, OK Air's cargo service is still up and running. Oil markets should brace for a decision on output cuts when the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries meets on December 17th in Algeria. OPEC President Chakib Khalil made the statement in an interview with the Associated Press. Khalil said a consensus has formed among OPEC members for a significant reduction of production levels, suggesting that the reductions could be deeper than expected. However, Khalil did not discuss how deep the cuts would be, saying only that they could be severe. He warned that oil prices that remain too low would start hurting oil producers and add up to the global economic recession. The OPEC chief said a fair price for oil would be at least $70 a barrel. The cartel has already slashed supplies by 2 million barrels per day to help prop up prices. Israeli security forces are maintaining a heavy presence in the West Bank city of Hebron after Israeli forces evicted hardline Jewish settlers from a building in the city. Security has also been tightened around Jerusalem's Old City as Muslims arrived for Friday prayers. Wu Peng has more.
Israeli police said on Friday they had placed 500 officers in and around Hebron and taken up positions elsewhere in the West Bank. The moves followed Israel's eviction on Thursday of dozens of extremist Jewish settlers from a Hebron house claimed by both Jews and Palestinians. The settlers say they lawfully purchased the building from Palestinians, but the Hebron resident denies having sold it to the settlers. The settlers had holed up in the 4-story house in defiance of a Supreme Court order to get out while ownership is determined. The eviction set off rampages by settler youths who attacked Israeli policemen and Palestinians and set fire to Palestinian homes. In the settlement of Kiryat Arba in Hebron, Jewish settlers promised more of the same.
This is not the end of the story. This is a continuation of the beginning, of continuing to build in Judea and Samaria, Hebron, Kiryat Arba, Hebron, and to continue to live here without disturbances, not from our so-called legal government and not from the Palestinians.
The biblical city of Hebron is holy to both Muslims and Jews, and it's one of the most volatile flashpoints between Israelis and Palestinians. In Jerusalem on Friday, Israeli police also increased security around the Old City, where thousands of Muslims attend Friday prayers in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Wu Peng, CCTV.
5 Blackwater worldwide security guards have been indicted for a deadly Baghdad shooting in 2007. They are all decorated U.S. military veterans who have served in some of the world's most dangerous hotspots. The men are charged following the deadly shooting of 17 Iraqi civilians at a busy Baghdad intersection on September the 16th last year. Documents in the case remain sealed but are expected to become public on Monday when the men have been ordered to surrender to the FBI. Prosecutors are expected to describe the 5 as trigger-happy security guards who opened fire unprovoked. A 6th suspect was in negotiations to plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for his cooperation against his former colleagues. Many Zimbabwean refugees are crossing into the neighboring South Africa to escape a deadly cholera outbreak. But instead of safety, what they are finding is illness and disease. Zhang Rui has more.
An increasing number of Zimbabwean refugees are crossing into South Africa, hoping to find asylum there. But a coordinator with the South African Red Cross says the water and the living conditions at the Musina showgrounds are not clean and that people are falling ill as a result. Meanwhile, South African officials say the country is deploying more health workers at the border and sending clean water and other aid into Zimbabwe. They have also dispatched a fact-finding team to Zimbabwe. After the team returns and makes its report, the country will announce other humanitarian steps next week. A representative with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies says the call for international assistance fully reflects the seriousness of the situation.
The risk is there, and we have actually seen already the border areas towards South Africa, where actions has been taken to curb the outbreak that is affecting those parts of the country.
But analysts fear the worst is yet to come as the rainy season is about to set in. Zimbabwe's cholera outbreak is blamed on years of neglect of its water treatment plants and the sewage pipes. Although cholera is easily prevented and cured, the country currently lacks adequate medical and water treatment systems to deal with the outbreak. Zhang Rui, CCTV.
Still to come after a short break. China promises to train 15,000 African personnel over 3 years to strengthen HR development in the continent. And the 3 astronauts from the Shenzhou 7 spacewalk mission open an exhibition at the Hong Kong Science Museum.
Flying higher with dreams. Sharing growth with you. CTV Golden Bridge International Communications Company Limited.
Thousand Island Lake. The ideal place to relax. Hangzhou.
Much more to see in Inner Mongolia.
More fun, more opportunities, newer city every day. It is here, my dreamland, Yiwu, China. Discover the mystery of China.
Thousand Island Lake. The ideal place to relax. Hangzhou.
Much more to see in Inner Mongolia. Flying higher with dreams. Sharing growth with you. CTV Golden Bridge International Communications Company Limited.
Welcome back. China has promised to train 15,000 African personnel in the next 3 years to strengthen the cooperation in human resources development between China and Africa. Soon we have more.
This is a classroom to train for Ethiopia telecommunication engineers. The teachers and equipment worth more than $10 million are all from a Chinese telecom company.
Teaching people how to fish is better than giving them fish. We're helping them to train tele-personnel as well as building a communication net.
Only 2% of its population used to have access to telecommunication services. But in recent years, China's assistance in building infrastructure has improved that percentage to 15%. The Chinese company is currently training more engineers to ensure it can maintain and develop the facilities. About 1,500 personnel should be trained by next year. In Madagascar, China's agricultural experts have brought new rice seeds, which would end the island country's dependence on rice imports. The new rice seeds, developed by Chinese scientists, are prolific, able to double the productivity of the local rice.
Some townships nearby came to us with the help of the Agriculture Ministry, asking for the rice seeds.
China has set up an African Human Resources Development Fund as a follow-up action of the first conference in 2002 for African personnel training. Many African countries have initiated cooperation plans and provided logistics support for the training projects. Songwei, CCTV.
3 visiting astronauts launched an exhibition on China's first spacewalk mission in Hong Kong on Saturday, giving local residents a glimpse of the country's space journey. Pan Deng has more.
3 astronauts of the Shenzhou 7 space mission, Zhai Zhigang, Liu Boming, and Jing Haipeng, joined other guests, including Regional Government's Chief Secretary for Administration, Henry Tang, to cut the ribbon at Hong Kong Science Museum. Zhang Jianqi, Deputy Commander-in-Chief of China's Manned Space Engineering Program, said the exhibition in Hong Kong is not just about the Shenzhou 7 manned space mission. It's also a record of the country's aerospace program over the past 16 years. The 10-day exhibition, running until December the 15th, features the re-entry capsule of the Shenzhou 7 spacecraft, spacesuits, the national flag displayed, and gloves worn by the astronauts during the spacewalk in September. 50,000 free tickets were snapped up by the public in just 2 hours on Friday. During their stay in Hong Kong, the astronauts will also meet students at the Chinese University of Hong Kong and brief them on the Shenzhou 7 mission. Pan Zheng, CCTV.
He may have pulled out of the Beijing Olympics, but that's not the last the world will see of Liu Xiang. Doctors expect the former world and Olympic champion hurdler to race again after his successful surgery on Friday in Houston. During an hour-long surgery, 25-year-old Liu had 4 small pieces of bone removed from the Achilles tendon in his right foot. Dr. Thomas Clemson performed the procedure at the Memorial Hermann, Texas Medical Center. After surgery, Liu was in good condition and is scheduled to leave hospital later on Saturday. Clinton, who operated on NBA star Yao Ming's injured foot earlier this year, anticipates that Liu will make a full recovery.
Felt that he did very well through the surgery. It was exactly what we had anticipated finding, and I think that his prognosis for running in the future is quite good.
Now we are not that anxious to let Liu Xiang go back to his training. We would like to wait until he's fully recovered.
And finally, visitors to London's British Museum will be treated to the sights and sounds of an authentic Indian summer next year. A season of indoor and outdoor events celebrating the vibrancy of Indian culture and its contribution to the UK will include an exotic garden, live performances and an exhibition of paintings never before seen in Europe.
The grand forecourt of the British Museum will be transformed next summer into an Indian landscape. Inside the museum will be the first in Europe to showcase an extraordinary array of 18th and early 19th century royal paintings from Jodhpur in Rajasthan. Gardens in the Cosmos is a collection of 55 paintings that will present vibrant illustrations of palace life and the great Indian epics, as well as artists' interpretations of origins of the universe. The paintings will make up an important part of the cultural exchange and will show alongside an action-packed public program, making it a fully interactive experience. Activities will include public debates, talks by Indian academics and artists, music and dance performances, and food tasting.
We're hoping that the public programme will complement and augment the exhibition and landscape. The exhibition, of course, is about late 18th century and early 19th century painting from Rajasthan. And we want to use the public programme to talk about the vibrancy of modern India and the issues and topics that concern us in Britain today.
Many of the flowers in British gardens originated from India. A tribute to India's rich biodiversity will take place in the museum's forecourt. Camellias, a banyan tree, and a pool of lotus flowers are just some of the attractions.
We're going to be presenting to our international audience out in our front courtyard a transect, if you like, from the Himalayas right the way through to the tropical zone, giving some indication of the huge range of Indian plant life and its connection to Indian culture in the very broadest sense.
In the last census, India was the largest ethnic minority in the UK. There is a long historical and cultural connection between the two countries.
Time now for a look at the weather forecast. Here is Dara Snow.
Good morning. China's weather first. Today will bring sunny or partly cloudy skies to most of the country, along with rising temperatures as that nasty cold front finally makes leave. Up in the north, the area from northern Shanxi to southern Liaoning will feel day highs bounce back above zero. Temperatures in Tianjin, Jinan and Taiyuan will reach above 5 degrees. At the same time, the area south of the middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River will generally experience highs of over 10 degrees. Likewise, cities like Wuhan, Nanjing and Hefei will also feel highs peaking above 10 degrees. As for wet weather today, just a few isolated places. In the north, northeastern Inner Mongolia, northwestern Heilongjiang, eastern Jilin and northeastern Liaoning will get some light snowfall, while in the south rain will fall over northeastern Yunnan, most of Guizhou, western Guangxi and parts of Hainan. Tomorrow that rain in the south will continue to die down, with only Guangxi and Yunnan still set for light showers. Now over to North America. Today, northeastern Canada as well as the northeastern United States will see a large scope of wet weather. Northeastern Ontario and southern Quebec to Newfoundland will see heavy to extremely heavy snow and will in fact be the most unsettled weather in the continent today. In the west, meanwhile, western Canada and the northwestern United States will mainly get some light to moderate rainfall. Tomorrow the snow in eastern Canada will decrease considerably, just leaving light snowfall, and in the west rain or snow will shift eastwards. North and South Dakota, Minnesota and Montana will see light to moderate intensity snow, while Wyoming and Nebraska will see light to moderate rain. Here's the summary.
Well, that's all for this edition of Worldwide Watch. I'm Liao Hong. Thanks for being with us.